everybody. Welcome to Fixing Fandom. It's going to be my new channel where I'm going to have a variety of different topics that I talk about. This is kind of going to be just an introduction of the channel, give you an overview of kind of who I am, what I'm into, kind of where I came up with the name for the channel, and some other stuff. Before I get too far into that, first of all, let me say thank you for clicking on the video. I really appreciate it. I know you have a lot of options. YouTube throws up so many different things for you to watch every day, and I really appreciate you taking the time to click on my video and just see what I'm all about. I hope you like it. If you do, I'd love it if you would, click the like button, think about subscribing, leave a comment in the comment section below if you have ideas about, ways I can improve the channel, things that you'd like to see on the channel, all that good stuff. You guys know the drill. Anyway, my name is John. I've been an avid comic book and pop culture, I don't know what the right word is, I guess, connoisseur. That's a little hoity-toity. But anyway, I've been into comics, pop culture, movies, TV for as long as I can remember. I have my roots going all the way back to the old Super Friends cartoon show. I mean, my earliest memories are of getting myself a bowl of cereal on Saturday morning, sitting down in front of the TV and watching Super Friends. I have early pictures of myself with my Mego Superman and my Mego Batman, and I've got, a picture of me sitting in a rocking chair listening to what I'm sure was my record of Superman like saves Metropolis or something. I can't remember the title of it, but I'm sitting there with my big headphones on and rocking my Superman shirt from an early age. So fandom goes way back to the very beginning for me. I'm guessing my history or my experience with fandom has it's probably similar to a lot of people's. While I was huge into superheroes for my younger years, I eventually transitioned. I was really into Transformers for a long time. That word transition thrown in there was unintentional, but I guess it's apropos. I transitioned into Transformers for a while, and I kind of fell away from superheroes. As much as I loved Batman and Superman at the time, all my friends were into Transformers, so that's what we did. We played Transformers, we played outside, we played bikes, whatever. And so superheroes are kind of fell by the wayside. They kind of went into my toy chest, and that's where they stayed for a while. And then when I was, just about, 10, 11, 12 years old, the 1989 Batman movie came out. And it's one of my fondest memories ever. I was, staying with my grandparents that weekend, and my grandma said, "Hey, do you want to go see a movie today?" And this was the Sunday after it had come out, and I remember I had been, counting down the days because it was Batman, and everybody was excited about it. All my friends were excited about it. And so she asked if I wanted to go see a movie, and I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Well, what do you want to see?" And I told her, I want to go see Batman. That's the only movie to go see at that time. I can't even tell you what else came out in 1989 because all I wanted and all I did was Batman that year. And so she ended up taking me, and I was just blown away. I remember sitting in that theater, and it was magical. Like, you hear people talk about different experiences. You hear people talk about what it was like to see the original Star Wars in 1977 when it premiered, and just the way they were just blown away by the spectacle. They never seen anything like it. Same goes for, when people talk about, the first Alien movie and how terrifying and horrifying it was. There's something about certain movies that they make you feel a certain way, and they just leave their mark on you. And that, for me, that was Michael Keaton's Batman. um, and so, from that point on, it was all superheroes all the time. I remember we had a gift exchange at school, and everybody knew that I was in Batman. Later on that year, everybody knew I was, all Batman. But at that point, I still was kind of like just watching the TV shows, watching because at that point, then they were rerunning the '66 Adam West Batman in syndication every afternoon at 4 o'clock, and so I was watching those a ton. I was trying to, go back and get all my old Batman and Super Friends figures out, but I hadn't gotten into comics yet. And I remember we had a gift exchange at school, and the person that got me for the gift exchange knew I was all about Batman, so they went with the, duh gift. They went with comic books for me, and it was I think they got me like the last two chapters of A Lonely Place of Dying, And I tell you what, to throw you into the deep end of a pool, as far as comics goes, that was a pretty good jumping off point because I just, I, I had no idea what was going on. Wait a minute, Robin's dead? Wait a minute, Robin isn't Robin. Robin's somebody named Nightwing, and there was another Robin, and he's dead, and here's this other kid coming in, and my mind was just blown. I was just like, I have to figure out what's going on. I have to have the answers to all these questions. Why isn't Dick Grayson Nightwing anymore? Who is this Jason Todd, and how did he die? And I remember I got my parents then took me to a comic book shop later on, and I got my first comics. I remember they bought me the complete Frank Miller Batman. It's this gorgeous leather bound book with this silver finishing along the edges of the paper. It's just this real fancy book, and I've got that in my collection still to this day. And I remember they bought me the first Batman Chronicles that went back and reprinted the earliest issues of Detective Comics and Batman's first appearance. And then, of course, I realized that you could get comics monthly, and I got them to sign me up for a subscription to. I think at the time I started with Batman and Detective, obviously, but I've always loved Robin and Dick Grayson, and so I think I got Teen Titans at the time. Um, I think that was it. I think I just had those three to start with. And so, I was off and running at that point. And so I collected comics by mail for a while through my younger years. And then when I got to high school, I found a local shop near me that, sold comics. And it was about 2 blocks from the high school that I went to. So I was able to go to high school, walk 2 blocks to the comic book shop, pick up comics, hop on the bus, ride home, read them on the way home, finish whatever ones I did once I got home, and it was just I was just done. I mean, that was it. I was going to be a lifelong comic book fan and superhero fan from that point on. And of course, as you go and start going to a comic book shop, you start seeing all the other covers of every other issue that's coming out, all the different, characters that you don't know about or you remember from when you were younger. Like I remember when I was younger, I had the Secret Wars figures, the old Secret Wars Spider-Man and figures and stuff. And Spider-Man and his Amazing Friends were one of my favorite cartoon shows when I was a kid. I remembered. So I started picking up Spider-Man books, and I started, then that led me into X-Men because, I remember some of the X-Men characters. Iceman was in Spider-Man's Amazing Friends, so I wanted to know what was up with the X-Men and Iceman. And so I found out Iceman really wasn't part of Spider-Man's Amazing Friends in the comics. He was, part of the X-Men. So then I know about X-Men, and, it's that snowball effect. And before I knew it, I found out that the comic book shop would, not only could you just buy comic books there, but you could set up a system where they would pull comics for you. When the new comics came in, they would pull them and they'd put them in a file for you, and each week you could go in and pick up brand new books. So that's what I did. They gave me a nice little discount. I went in, I put in my comic book subscription each month, and they pulled my titles, and it was great. That's kind of been where I've been. Just collecting comic books, collecting figures, collecting all the related things that go along with that. And my fandom has grown to be not just comic books, but uh, all the other big ones. Like Star Wars was also a huge thing when I was a kid. I had a ton of the Star Wars figures and a ton of the old Kenner figures, and the Luke Skywalker with the blade that you could slide up and down in his arm, and the Darth Vader that had the same thing. And I had a Kenner snowspeeder for Luke, and one of the lasers on the front of it had broken off. Um, and it didn't matter. I played with that. I still play with that thing every day. I can't remember. I think the other laser had gotten thrown away at some point because my mom was like, "Well, this is trash. It's broken." I was like, "No, you can't throw the vehicle away." She's like, "Well, we're not keeping this other piece." And some of my fondest memories were playing with those Star Wars figures, and Han Solo and Chewbacca are my favorite characters ever. That's this is a little bit of a diversion, but I'm a huge dog person. I love dogs. I grew up with dogs. I had a dog of my own for a number of years, and he passed a few years ago. Um, so Han and Chewie were kind of like, that was you and your dog. It was that kind of thing for me, or that kind of relationship, and that's so I gravitated to them. I think because of that. Plus Han's just so cool. I mean, come on, of course. So anyway, that's kind of a real quick overview of who I am, how I got my start in fandom and comics and whatnot. Let me see if I can just run through some of my the big fandoms I've really found myself falling deep into over the years. Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel, loved those shows. I know Joss Whedon it's come out recently that he's not the greatest person in the world, and I find that very disappointing. It's one of those conundrums I think all fandom will face at some point. You find out something about somebody that's involved with it that just isn't good, and you have to kind of reconcile the art with the artist. And I've done that with Joss. It's been more recent with Joss that he's gotten a lot of blowback for his actions and kind of the way he's treated people. Um, and deservedly so from what most people are saying now. There's a lot of support coming out from the people that have said that they've had these terrible experiences with him. That's not the first time this has happened with Joss. His ex-wife years ago said that Joss, really wasn't quite who he presented himself to be. And again, I find that extremely disappointing. My feeling with the fandom, though, especially with Buffy and Angel, are that there were lots of people, including people that Joss treated poorly, very poorly, treated badly. I shouldn't even say poorly, just straight out. He treated them badly. He treated them the way that they shouldn't have been treated. Um, but those people still came to work every day. They put their heart and soul into those shows, into those characters. And I think even though, there's a component of those fandoms, the Joss Whedon component that's rough and needs to be definitely looked at, and you can't just say everything was fine with them. I think you look at the contributions from the rest of the people that worked on those shows, the hundreds if not thousands of people that worked on all those shows, and their contributions should not be just discarded, in my opinion, just because one person was not a good person. So yeah, while those have been tainted in a way, I still love the shows. I love the stories. I love the actors and the actresses that were involved with those shows. It's just, it holds a special place in my heart just because um, it was my first kind of branching out outside of comic books that I did, out of the superhero genre, and the fandom around it was so encouraging. Like I came in the middle of season 5. My first episode was The Body, because I had heard so much about how good that episode was. And now that looking back on it, I wish I would have had all the backstories. I think it would have made that episode even more impactful. It was it was plenty impactful as it was. So fandom, I'd get on message boards back then and be like, well, wait a minute, where are we? What's going on? Who's Dawn? What's all this? Dawn. Wait, Dawn wasn't always Buffy's sister, and people were so welcoming and filling me in on stuff. And then I got into Angel, and Angel is still like. I love Buffy. I know there are a lot of people out there that love Buffy, and Buffy is like that's it for a lot of people, and they love Angel, but Buffy was the original. Buffy's the one, and I'm almost the opposite. Like I think I love Angel even more than I love Buffy. There were things about that they did on that show that just blew me away. So that was Buffy, Angel were a couple big ones. Firefly, obviously, because at the time I was like consuming anything that Joss Whedon was involved with, and then you have Nathan Fillion, so charismatic in that show, and the rest of the cast that was on it. Um, so yeah, that's another big one that I've been involved with. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Comic books lead you not just into superheroes, but plenty of other genres. Preacher is one of my all-time favorite comic book series. Uh, Garth Ennis and Steve Dillon just had a masterpiece of a run on a book. It's not for everyone. I understand that, but it was just incredibly fun and exciting and had so much heart in that story. Tulip and Jesse's relationship and their kind of devotion to each other was, something that I always gravitated towards. A little bit of maybe a hopeless romantic. My favorite comic book story of all time is terminal velocity, and it's that the relationship between Wally and Linda, and how Wally's willing to sacrifice everything for her, just to ensure her safety. But then on the other hand, on the other side of that same coin, she is the thing that keeps him from sacrificing everything. You know, she's the thing that tethers him to the world and keeps him grounded. And just the way that story plays out is just amazing. Mark Wade, obviously, his run on Flash is, you know, the accolades have been sung by more than just me over the years. But that particular story, I love the whole run, obviously, but that particular story is my favorite comic book story of all time. So, you know, I touched on Preacher, Why the Last Man, Brian K. Vaughan, just, oh my God, like just an amazing, you know, he showed me that there's concepts out there that you would never think of in a million years, and a story that doesn't seem like it would be for you. Wait a minute, you know, I am a young teenager, you know, early adult, young adult male, like I'm into sports and I'm into superheroes. Like, what is there for me to like in a book that's all about a world where all the men are gone? It's just women, and how women are surviving with this one single guy that's left. But man, that book just hooked me, and that whole series was just amazing. And Ampersand, and just man, just such a good book. If you haven't read it, like I cannot recommend that book. Like Preacher, I will recommend to people and say, look, this is a great book. You should read it. But I'll also put the caveat on there that like, hey, it might not be for you. It's extremely graphic. There's lots of adult content. Like this may not be the book. I know this isn't the book for everyone. Why the Last Man? I feel like if you're a person, if you're a human and you've ever had human emotions and experiences, like there's something in that book for you. It's just so well done. So that's like deep dives back into stuff I was in, like maybe some more recent stuff like Lock and Key. Not super recent, but you know, they've got the new Netflix show that came out a couple years back, and the second season's supposed to be coming soon. You know, I think the pandemic has slowed down the rollout of that second season. But Lock and Key, I thought was a great book from Joe Hill, and then the show has been great. I'm trying to think of like other like TV series. Matrix was a huge influence on me when it came out. Like I loved the first Matrix movie. Matrix 2 and 3, I enjoy them. Honestly, I'll be the first to admit, I don't know that I'm smart enough to understand them. There's so much going on. I've seen the room scene with the guy with the white beard, the architect, and Keanu and Neo, you know, sitting there having their chat. I've seen that scene probably 100 times, and I still am not sure I can tell you what's going on in that scene. But the first movie, the original Matrix movie, just it had my mind twisted for days after I saw that. Such a good film. The way they drop the bombshell on what's actually going on, and the way the story plays out is just incredible. I was really into martial arts and, you know, kung fu films for a long time. I love Bruce Lee. You know, I not so much recently. Like I don't know that I know many martial arts films from the last, you know, 5 to 10 years. Unfortunately, it seems like that genre has kind of fallen by the wayside. But definitely, you know, going further back, Jet Li. I loved all of Jet Li's films back in the day. Kung fu films, martial arts films, big on those. Quentin Tarantino, love Quentin Tarantino and all his films. My favorite Quentin Tarantino film is Kill Bill. I'm going to cheat and say it's Kill Bill and put one and two together. If you force me to, I'll fall on the side of Kill Bill 2, but I consider them one film. So that's, you know, that's kind of just some general overview of who I am, what I've been into. As far as what this channel is, it's going to be a variety of different things. Honestly, you know, I have stuff I'd like to comment on in fandom, and I felt like this is a good way for me to do that. It's probably going to focus a lot on comic books and comic book related, you know, stuff. The MCU is, you know, as you can tell by my shirt, like huge MCU fan. Like as much as I was a DC fanboy for so many years, I always dabbled in Marvel. Like I have runs in my comic book collection of X-Men from the 90s and Avengers from, the 2000s. And, I've kind of jumped in and out of Marvel over the years. And the Spider-Man's been pretty consistent. I have pretty good runs of Spider-Man, but DC was my go-to. I mean, you can kind of see I've got my, Super Friends, Superpowers line of statues up there. So it's been mainly DC for me, but obviously I love superhero or all superheroes and Marvel as well. And the MCU has just been a godsend. Like, I never thought I'd live in a day and age where I could go see these just phenomenal films multiple times a year. I mean, Batman '89 was so huge for me because it was the first superhero movie we had gotten since, the Christopher Reeve Superman films. And so it was amazing that they had, I was getting another comic book character. Um, but that was it. Like superhero films were so few and far between. You got one every few years instead of, you know, three or four or five every year. Sometimes more than that, depending on, who's on their game or whatnot. Those are the areas that I'm going to probably talk about mostly. I'm thinking I'll probably try and do like some mobile uploads, like because a lot of times I'll catch a news story at work or something and like have some thoughts on it, and I'll probably do some cell phone footage cam uploads where I just like, hey, just heard this dropped. Here's my initial thoughts on it, and see how it goes from there. I actually, am a kind of guest host on another show that's out there, another channel, Honest and Uneducated, with Rob Bifo. And so, there's a lot of like, if you kind of want to see, what my thoughts are on some of the stuff that's come out over the past year, you can go check out his channel and check out the show Honest and Uneducated, um, where we've talked about a lot of stuff over the years. But this is going to be my opportunity to kind of do some stuff on my own, make some videos showcasing kind of my thoughts on things that we don't always get to cover on that show. I'm also going to like do some reviews on some stuff that I personally love. Got really big and big fan of the Hot Toys 6 scale figures. Started collecting those back in the early 2010s, maybe 2009-ish, with the release of the Dark Knight figures. The Dark Knight is hands down my favorite movie of all time. You might have thought I was going to say Batman '89, and while Batman '89 has that special place for me of being like the thing that kickstarted my fandom and got me back into comic books and got me, into superheroes, The Dark Knight was just it's just the most amazing film to me. Heath Ledger's Joker was just incredible. I mean, there's anybody that was around in 2008 knows how big that movie was and how just amazing those performances were, especially Heath, and what kind of impact that had. I mean, I came out of Batman Begins. Well, I came out of Batman and Robin thinking that Batman was dead. I wouldn't see another. I went the first, decade of my life, if not more, never seeing a Batman film. So when I got the Michael Keaton Batman, and then I got Val Kilmer, and then I got George Clooney, I was like, oh, this is great. And then, Batman and Robin came out, and it was rough. It was a lot of people say it was terrible, one of the worst films ever, and okay. There are parts of it that I actually still like. I think the relationship with Alfred and Bruce is just really good and strong in that movie. So there are things that I can pick out of it, but I will agree that overall it had a lot of issues with it. And so, I thought that was it. I thought, okay, I'll be lucky if I see another Batman movie, before I'm gone. Little did I know that we were just on the cusp of entering this golden age of superheroes and dominating the box office and movies in general, and now television. I really loved the Marvel movies, the Dark Knight. But oh, that's right, I was getting around to Batman Begins. So then when Batman Begins came out, I was shocked and I was like, oh my God, my favorite character Batman is back on the screen. I went and saw it, and yet again, it was just like wow, I was blown away. Like, this is amazing. Who's this Christopher Nolan kid? And like, what is he doing? Like, this is not the '89 Batman. This is not George Clooney. This isn't Val Kilmer. This is like real. This is like, man, like all those dreams and like fantasies I've had about being Batman and what it would be like. Like this is it. This is the blueprint of how you do it. And like just oh, so good. And so like the anticipation for The Dark Knight was through the roof. And when it came out, I was just shocked. I remember I went and saw I don't know how many, some of you I'm sure out there will remember this, but in 2007, the December of 2007, before, The Dark Knight came out in 2008, Warner Brothers released a special, and this was the first time I ever remember a movie company doing this, but they released a special, like 5 minute, um, I don't know what you want to call it, teaser or whatever of The Dark Knight. And it only played in front of I Am Legend, the Will Smith I Am Legend film, on IMAX theaters. It was the opening sequence of The Dark Knight, the bank robbery scene with the Joker, and whatever doesn't kill you makes you stranger, and he lifts up the mask, and it just that reveal and everything. And so I remember going and seeing that, and then his mask comes off, and he jumps in the bus, and the bus pulls out and pulls away. And I was just like, "What is this? This is no Joker I've ever seen before. This isn't Jack Nicholson's, cackling, ha 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 ha, mob boss Joker. This is like, this guy is unhinged. This is incredible." And then, of course, you go see the movie, and that is just the tip of the iceberg for how good that film is. And of course, you've got the through line of Christian Bale, coming back, and Jordan, Commissioner Gordon, and just how well they continue developing them. And then you've got Two-Face, who I never thought I'd see. I remember Billy D. Williams playing Harvey Dent back in the '89 Batman, and I was like, wait, Harvey Dent. Wait, that's Two-Face. When's Two-Face? And then of course, Two-Face never showed up. So anyway, that's I've kind of gotten long-winded here, but Dark Knight's my favorite movie. So but I love the MCU, and I love all the MCU films. And there's been something going around recently about your Mount Rushmore of comic book films, and I'm working on that actually. I'm going to try and come up with what my Mount Rushmore is, and I'm guessing at least two of the spots are going to be held by MCU movies, but we'll see. That's kind of a good overview of me and who I am. Um, I'm engaged. I've got my fiance, and we share a young son that's going to be 3 pretty soon, and so he's just getting old enough where I'm starting to like introduce him to comic books and stuff. And thank God I've got my old Super Friends shows I can kind of share with him and stuff. And I'm trying not to be the dad that forces like my fandom onto him. I'm hoping he picks it up naturally just by seeing how much I'm into it, but we'll see. So yeah, that's it. Um, I'd love to hear back. I'd love to hear feedback from everyone. I'm really a novice at this whole like podcasting, YouTube whole thing. So you'll have to, let me know in the comments below, what, hey, you could improve by doing this, or hey, I thought, went on a little too long about this, that, or the other thing. One other thing about the channel, the name, Fixing Fandom. So yeah, I don't know that I love the name, but I like it, and maybe I'll grow to love it. I think the name, unfortunately, has a little bit of a negative connotation to it because it implies that there's something wrong with fandom, and I don't think that that's necessarily true. I don't think it's true for all fandom, but I do think that we live in a day and age with social media and so many opinions and thoughts and stuff that we get into these weird like fights and arguments about fandom, and people can there's a darker side of fandom where people can get really mean and try and tear people down about what they like and what they don't like, and get really just not be the best they can be to each other over stuff, and this is all stuff that's supposed to bring us joy and excitement and fun. So I'm going to try and keep the channel like that. I'd like this channel to be one that focuses on the positive aspects of fandom, one that talks about the good stuff that's out there. One of my favorite movie directors, movie makers, filmmaker. There you go. That's the word I want. One of my favorite filmmakers is Kevin Smith. Mallrats was just I was for a you know, teenager in high school when Mallrats came out. Like that was me. That was me going to the mall with my friends, and like that was so. Anyway, Kevin Smith, love Kevin Smith. Listen to his Fat Man. It used to be Fat Man on Batman. Now it's Fat Man Beyond podcast with Mark Bernardin. Love those guys. Love Kevin Smith. Anyway, he's got a saying, I'm not going to blink on one thing just to raise up another. And I love that kind of philosophy he's always had about, look, I'm not going to tear something down just to make something else look good. I'll tell you about the stuff I love and the reason I love it, and I'll try and raise it up. Um, and I'll try and convince you. Like if you don't agree with me, I'll give you my rationale for why I think it's that way. Um, so that's kind of what I'm going to try and do with this channel. Focus on the things I really love and enjoy, and we'll go from there. I'm sure from time to time I'll get a little grumpy about something or other, but I'll give you more history about that, a little later on. Why I'd like to try and minimize the amount of negativity I have on the channel, especially with regards to just overall fandom and the stuff that's coming out. I'd like to stay positive and really promote the things that I love and enjoy. So yeah, that's me. Thanks again for clicking on the video. I really do appreciate it. If you like the video, love it if you could leave a like, a thumbs up. If you want to see more, click on the subscribe button. I'll have some more coming out, hopefully relatively soon. I'm getting this together. I'm getting it put out there to kind of give me that push I need to really get out there and get this channel going and spend some time doing the things that I really love doing. So we'll see where it goes from here. I'm excited to take this journey with you, and take care. Thanks.